Good evening, everybody, and
Good evening.
welcome to
Good
the
evening.
new weekly Premier League show called The 20. Why is it called The 20, you ask? Because there are 20 teams in the Premier League. And this week, we're going to talk about everything that's happened Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the Premier League. All teams have played. Let's start with the Friday night game, gentlemen. Take it away, Mr. Martin Horsfield. Arsenal 3, Aston Villa 1. What's going on? Arsenal are not in free fall anymore. It looks like Tottenham are in free fall now, and Arsenal have actually turned up to play football in the Premier League this season. What do you think?
Well, Arsenal have clearly turned up, and it's no coincidence now they've got Aubameyang, Lacazette, and I think Odegaard is now settled in. They got everyone back. Smith Rowe was firing. Yeah, and Aston Villa were actually everyone's dark horses, and the way Aston Villa fans were talking, I thought they were going to be challenging us for the league, the way they were all talking and everything else. But yeah, I thought it just shows that Arsenal, even though I did actually watch this game, and I wouldn't say Arsenal were amazing. I would say it was more Villa were poor, more than I would say Arsenal were absolutely spanking good. Let's put it on, mate. If Arsenal were playing a City, a Chelsea, a Liverpool that night, they'd have got beat.
I was going to say, isn't this the difference between, say, like the top 4, top 6, and then the best of the rest? Because Arsenal as a team, last 5 games, won 3, drawn 2. They're actually coming into play the Premier League now. So those first 2 or 3 games when all the Arsenal fans were throwing season tickets in the Thames and absolutely having meltdowns, it's actually doing all right for them at the minute. Aston Villa, it's a little bit worse for them. You know, in the last 5 games, won the first 2, and then they've lost 3 games on the bounce. What's going on, Aston Villa? Now, is this like a staggered response to losing Jack Grealish? Was he that pivotal to them? I thought Aston Villa would be a decent team again this season. They seem to improve in all the right places. Or are they just having an early season wobble? I mean, it's only 9 games in, so let's not melt down if we're Aston Villa fans. But yeah, Arsenal seem to be putting a bit of consistency together. Aston Villa seem to be struggling. And usually, so when you look at the five game meta, the data, it sort of shows you how a team's going to perform for the whole season. So, for example, Chelsea, Liverpool and City. Chelsea have got 4 wins and a loss. Liverpool have got 3 wins, 2 draws. City have got 2 draws, 3 wins. And that sort of tells you that they're going to be somewhere towards the top of the table. Arsenal are sort of on that sort of same run as well, so they're edging towards the top of the table. Whereas someone like Aston Villa, 3 losses, 2 wins, you'd sort of say, mid-table. Is that about fair from looking at that sort of data?
Yeah, definitely. I think Aston Villa. Got to remember, Aston Villa, I was with you. Thought maybe, I wasn't going to say challenge for the league, Champions League. I thought they'd do better. But on the other side, this is going to sound totally harsh because I'm not a Villa season scorer, so I don't know. They brought in a lot of players. They lost Jack Grealish, who was pivotal into their team. He was their go-to guy. He was the guy who made them tick, even though he wasn't a big goal scorer for them. And they replaced him with 4 or 5 players. So what they did was Grealish went out and they replaced the full front 3 with that Grealish money. They had Leon Bailey, they had Danny Ings, they had Buendia that came in from Norwich. Now, as much as, yes, they'll do well, it's going to take a long time to get 4 or 5 players settled into a team. You don't just bed in overnight. And the other thing is, I'm going to sound even asses, Dean Smith, he's not a manager for me. He's not someone who I think...
Really? Because I think you're alone in saying that one, Martin. I really do think you're alone in saying that one. I think he's a consistent enough mid-table Premier League manager. I don't know where you're getting this Dean Smith nonsense from. Ozzy and Ryan, let me hear your thoughts on that Friday night game.
Well, I've got to say, I mean, with Arsenal, yeah, they seem to have found some consistency, but they're not playing the likes of us, United, Liverpool, Chelsea. I think,
Ed's gone for throwing United into that mix there, Ozzy. We'll get on to that later.
We'll get on to that later. But I'm just talking about the traditional, top 6 teams. You know, they're nowhere near yet to kind of finding their form properly. They've managed to grind out some wins, but I think if they come up against a better opposition, I think, you know, you're going to be seeing Arsenal fans go, you know, completely heads gone. I think the thing with Aston Villa is, you know, you go, Martin talking about the signings, you know, it's not like, was it Fulham that did all those big signings a couple of summers ago, brought in a load of players, you know, and it just never worked. Villa have actually brought in some class players. You know, Danny Ings is a proven, you know, Premier League goal scorer. You know, Leon Bailey
proved himself in the Prem. That season he was up
with Bundesliga. You know, it's not a farmers' league like, you know, League One, but there's still some proven players there that should be doing a lot better for them. Again, as we've said, you know, it's still early. You know, we're only 9 games.
Well, that's why I'm asking you the question. I'm asking all of you the question: is it a blip? Is it a wobble? Or is this just the consistency of a mid-table team? For me, it's just the consistency of a mid-table team. I wouldn't be crying if I was Aston Villa fan, but I would be a little bit on the upset side because I'd want more. If you're replacing Jack Grealish, I'd want more. We've bought 5. If I was thinking as an Aston Villa fan, brought 5 players in. Let's go on. What did we do last season, and how can we improve this season? I want more W's. I want more draws. I want more effort. And going to the Emirates, which is a team that Villa should be looking at, in my opinion, and Arsenal, which are a former top 6 team, a weakened top 6 team, they're a top 8, top 10 team. I'd want to be competing head to head with someone like Arsenal. So to go there and lose 3-1, bit worried. Ryan?
I mean, Aston. So go on.
I don't. Well, I think, yeah, they're a mid-table team and they're performing like a mid-table team. I think Arsenal are a bit better than people are making out, like I said at the start of the season when they were performing like crap before everyone came back. On Martin's point about signings, like Arsenal were playing more new signings than Villa were, as they've brought in, and a lot of them are quite young as well, in Lokonga and Tavares. But it's it was again.
But what do you think to my point though, Ryan, about the fact that Arsenal and Villa are sort of the same? They're both top 8, top 12. You don't think that?
No, that's literally what I started with Arsenal being better than people are making out.
Well, all right. So where are Arsenal going to end up then? You think Arsenal will break the top 6 again, or
they'll finish in Europe?
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's Ryan's thought on that one. Right. Let's move to the Saturday games. Chelsea, Norwich. I've got a lot to say on this, but I'm going to let you all talk about it first. It was 7-1. Sorry, 7-0 to Chelsea, by the way. Top of the table.
What can you say, really? You know, Norwich have been pretty poor since coming back into the Premier League. For me, they're not a Premier League team. You know, I'm really sorry, Norwich fans, but it's the truth. You know, you do well in the Championship, and I think that's Norwich's level. I don't think they're a bad team. They're just not Premier League team. You know, yes, they've come up a few times over the last few years. You know, they beat us a couple of seasons ago. You know, brilliant, well done. But for me, you know, they're just not a consistent team that are going to do well, and they'll go back down to the Championship. I don't think anyone can say they won't with the current form.
Well, I think the worst thing that Norwich could do is get itchy trigger fingers and sack Daniel Farke. That is absolutely the worst thing in the world they can do, because as you just said there, rightfully, they're a top Championship team, and they're in danger of getting Derby counted. You know, they've only got 2 points after 9 games, which is pretty horrendous. But Daniel Farke is absolutely the manager they need. So if they were to get a bit trigger happy and sack him right now, they're gonna get relegated anyway. So that's the worst thing you do, and they're not suddenly gonna bring in a proven Premier League manager or anything like that that's gonna save their season. They're just not. So they just need to stick with Daniel Farke, because they'll be an up down team, and maybe one year they'll get lucky and stay in the Premier League. But Daniel Farke for me is still the right guy for that job, because they're gonna get relegated, and who do you want at the helm other than a proven Championship manager that will get you promotion again? And that's Daniel Farke. So Norwich City.
It kind of reminds me of a bit of Steve Bruce. You know, he's that kind of manager who will get you into the Premier League, but after that, just can't keep you there. And I know Steve Bruce kept Newcastle in last season, but just really, grinding out,
Well, it's the difference.
Sometimes
between...
you've just got to accept that you're a championship manager.
Absolutely. It's the difference between a Premier League team and a championship team is Norwich. They're a perfect championship team. They'll win lots of games in the championship, but without that extra level of investment into the Premier League, they're just always going to have this level of inconsistency. Martin and Ryan?
Chelsea, if you look at the Chelsea team, they heavily rotated. Yeah, even Barkley got minutes on the pitch on Saturday. Hudson-Odoi started. They missed a lot of their big hitters. I think Kante was injured or Kante was absent anyway. Lukaku wasn't there. They missed a lot and still got spanked 7-0. The thing that's worrying, you look at the statistics of that game, they had like 2 or 3 shots and one was on target. So for Norwich, if they're going to, at least against us, they came and they tried to pass out from the back and
they were brave. They were brave. They were like a B-Tech version of City.
Yeah.
They still got spanked, but they were going to get spanked no matter what they did. So
against Chelsea, they just, I don't know what they did. I think they just went in with the white flag before they'd even got there. Mason Mount ran right. We've got to remember, Chelsea missed penalty as well. It was a rout, an absolute routing by Norwich. And it just comes down to, you made a point a couple of weeks ago, Rob, is they are a team that are not good enough for the Premier League, but they're too good for the Championship. They are in that middle section of where do we go? And
well, that's the thing, innit, Martin? What do you do? If you're Daniel Farke, what do you do? Sure. Do you completely go against your tactics and completely go against your ethos and just try and grind out 28 0-0s and play the world's most boring football to just try and scrape Premier League survival? Or do you carry on being entertainers and try and get wins with your philosophy? And that's the ultimate struggle for Norwich.
I think in football, in general, and this is down to maybe Pep Guardiola as well, and going back to the Wenger days, is entertainment is now more important than the result. Literally, you get fans now coming out of grounds and they're going, oh, that was 0-0. And it's boring and it's crap and I didn't want to watch it and I was bored stiff. I've spent 50 quid on a Premier League ticket and got bored, got no entertainment. And they want to come out getting beat 4-3 and go, oh, at least we had a go at 4-3. And they're not using the red in terms of take the point and play boring. You don't have... It's like now the entertainment has become more important than the actual results. As long as they're entertained, then it's great. We have managers who now get sacked because they don't play entertaining football.
Kind of reminds me of Crystal Palace. They were screaming out for better football to be played, yet the likes of Roy Hodgson were keeping them in the league. So you've got to decide what you want. Like you said, Martin, you've got to decide whether you want nice flowing football or you actually want to, grind out a win and stay in the Premier League.
Yeah. Well, like I even though it's only 9 games in, I still think it's already too late for Norwich. They needed to have picked up 6 more points than they have done already. And unfortunately,
Norwich.
That's unfortunate because Norwich, the way they play football, it's entertaining, and you always, like Martin just said, you always want entertaining football, but it's entertaining while getting peppered. 5-0 against us, 7-0 against Chelsea. There'll be more of those scorelines throughout the year. Ryan, quick word on Chelsea Norwich.
Yeah, I think just on Norwich, like it's something we've mentioned previously, is they need a season where they do just come up and play awful football and make some good defensive signings that can maybe try and keep them in the league. Because when you look at that team yesterday, pretty much everyone bar 3 or 4 players that played for them were new signings in the summer. Like they were the real, not necessarily big spenders, but the ones that rejigged the squad the most of everyone. But none of them were screaming. They were all kind of young and maybe promising players, but not screaming staying in the Premier League, which I think is their main real big issue.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's go on to the next game then. Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 1. Newcastle under an interim boss, I guess, in potential free fall, but not in potential free fall. They are the constant flux team. They are Schrodinger's team. Have they won? Will they win? Will they lose? Newcastle United, the butt of a lot of jokes, but the richest team in football. I don't even want to get into that enigma wrapped in a mystery that is Newcastle. What's the plan? What is the plan? They've just sacked a manager that guaranteed them survival and had the same win rate, pretty much identical to what Rafa Benitez had. So Newcastle United, somebody talk to me about them. At least they got a point, I guess. And they've now got 4 points. Woo, well done, Newcastle. Tell me about it, boys.
Completely. Right, that was the thing. In this game, they were just outplayed. Problem for Palace was getting good shots on target. They had 14 shots in the game, but only 3 on target. So Newcastle only had 1 less on target. And it wasn't that they were necessarily bad chances that Palace were having. A lot of big chances in the box that they just failed to score. I think Benteke had 2 that were just around the 6-yard box from in open play. I think they were headers being Benteke, but there were good chances that you need to be taking against sides like Newcastle, who didn't really offer much.
What we're saying about Palace this season? They're in 15th at the minute. Lost 1, drawn 4. Are they just going to be the draw specialists this season? Are they going to get enough points to stay up, or are they just going to stay up because there's worse teams than them? Because every single time,
they're going to stay up.
I don't. If I close my eyes and think about Crystal Palace, I think about young, athletic entertainers, but then it never really translates. So, what's their story?
Crystal, I mean, Patrick Vieira is still a young manager in terms of management. You know, he's had a couple of jobs abroad. This is his first one properly in England. There was even talk of him having the Manchester City job, which is total and utter madness.
Well, that's heads gone, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Utter madness. And we were all around when those rumours come up. But let's be honest, Crystal Palace are taking a page out of the Norwich book, as in getting the draws that are required. But when Crystal Palace need to, they will turn it on and they will get the results to get them out of trouble. I have no doubt about Crystal Palace staying up at all. They've got the ability and they've got the players. And I generally have no concerns over Crystal Palace at all. Yeah, I think we'll spank them next weekend, but I think we'll spank a lot of teams at the minute. But Crystal Palace, for me, are the team that will probably finish 15th, 16th quite comfortably. I don't think by about March or April they'll be in a relegation battle at all. I think they'll be, far ahead of it by then, or points-wise they'll be further away. Because I've got a feeling the relegation battle will be done quite early this year, very early.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
As for Newcastle, that is a circus. That if you look at the way we got taken over and the way they got taken over, don't compare us.
Well, don't compare it. You're right in one way, don't compare it, but in another way, we went through the Mark Hughes debacle for over a year. We had the Robinho debacle. It was a mess. Let's not sugarcoat our takeover. It was
a mess.
But the key difference between the Newcastle takeover and the City takeover is, at the time, we were a top 8 team. We weren't going to go any lower than 10th, and we weren't going to get relegated. Whereas Newcastle are a bottom 6 team and could get relegated. All right, so let's move on to the next fixture then. Everton-Watford. Everton, the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. They're in 8th in the Premier League, but they've lost 3 out of the last 5, won 1, drawn 1. What is going on with Everton? I thought we were having some sort of Everton resurgence. I thought we were going to get to see 80s Everton, revolution. What is going on? Everton. I wish we had an Everton fan to tell us what's going on, because it looks like an absolute shambles.
New manager syndrome, innit? New manager syndrome. Claudio Ranieri.
Last weekend.
Pardon?
Wasn't last weekend we went Ranieri.
Well, he had about one day.
They got beat. They got beat at home 5-2 against Watford. So, Ozzy, tell us about it.
I mean, we keep hearing about Everton and how they're going to start challenging for a European, spot. It's just like they're so inconsistent. They're a bit of a mess of a team. Like when Rafa Benitez came in, I thought, really coming in, I thought Everton wanted to start challenging. I mean, no offense against Benitez. Once upon a time ago, he was a really good class manager.
You mean
But
when he was at Liverpool?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
long time
When
ago,
you were still in
exactly.
short trousers.
Yeah, exactly. So, for me, that appointment wasn't telling me as an outsider. I don't know what it was telling Everton fans, but it wasn't telling me that the club were taking things seriously, that they wanted to start challenging. For me, it kind of came across a bit desperate, and I think there was a few of the managers out there they could have gone for, but, they decided to play it safe. They brought in some, players that were okay, but, I wasn't thinking, well, that's some really good signings. Andros Townsend, yeah, he's all right as coming off the bench and doing something, but that kind of signing didn't wow me. I was thinking, oh yeah, that's a brilliant signing. So I don't know. I don't know what Everton really think they really want, like as a club.
I think I know what the fans want as a club.
Oh, we know what the fans want.
Ryan,
but
tell us, mate, why did Watford spank Everton 5-2 at Goodison Park?
Dilly ding, dilly dong. That's why they spanked Everton. Also, with the Everton manager situation, I think it goes back to a point that Martin will probably make of have they gone and signed a big name manager rather than, as he keeps mentioning, try and go and get a young up and coming manager that's English or something. They've gone and signed a name for his name value. Who?
So
when
what
you
you're saying, Ryan, is that Graham Potter should have been appointed Everton manager.
Well, no, I don't think I think he turned down going to Spurs, so I don't know why he'd go to Everton. But
Everton are a bigger club.
The size of the club means absolutely nothing.
I know, Ryan, I'm joking.
Oh,
It's I think, but there are people out there they could have gone for that would do as good a job as Rafa, but wouldn't maybe get the stick that Rafa will get because he doesn't exactly play great football all the time, and is, because of his name value, is going to be expected to push them on and maybe win things.
Yeah, true. Right. Youssef, Everton will never turn Merseyside from red to blue. That might be true, Youssef, but you'll also never go to Merseyside. Next game, Leeds versus Wolves, 1-1 draw. Leeds and Wolves, two mid-table teams, yes or no? Or are Leeds actually stealthing their way into a relegation fight? Second season syndrome. Ozzy, tell us.
I always kind of feel like, Leeds are a good team. I think they've just, it's not been a great start for them this season, but I don't see them going into the relegation fight. I think it's just been another slow start for them, like a few clubs out there. I think they won't kind of climb up massively high at the Premier League table, but I think they'll probably finish, mid-ish.
So you don't see them in a relegation battle? You really don't?
No, I don't. I think they've got enough quality players there to kind of get them out of that kind of relegation fight. I just think they've had a poor start. I think it's too early to call for Leeds. I personally think that they won't go into that relegation fight.
Okay, they're only on 7 points, but Ozzy said it. Martin, tell us, are they dead?
I don't think they're sleepwalking into a relegation battle. I think they're free falling into one.
Ooh,
and they don't realise
controversy
it.
on the Mancunian way.
I genuinely think they don't realise it. Leeds United have done this 15-year battle to get to the Premier League, consolidated for a year, and then thought, right, they've not really pressed on from last year. They haven't bought anyone to push them on. I mean, the big thing was that they kept Rafinha. That was the big thing for them. He was linked with near enough everybody. And Bielsa, I mean, you look at Murderball with Bielsa and you think, oh, it's great. But look at the way that team has to do it. I said it about 12 months ago. I said, yes, it's great to watch. It's brilliant to watch. But be careful that it doesn't burn out very quickly, that. When you're going at that intensity and that training method and take it into your games week in, week out, that is not something that can be taken on forever. Because after 12 months, the players are just going to go, enough of this. I love it, but I've had enough of this. And then I look through the team and I think, have they got the battle? Have they got the fight for a relegation battle? Because here's the problem with some of these teams, and we'll talk about Wolves as well. And I think Wolves are in danger of doing it. Is some teams can have this mentality. We had it in 1996. We're too big and too good to go down. And by the time you blinked, you're in a relegation battle and you can't get out of it because you don't know how to get out of it because you were never expecting it to happen in the first place. And that's what I think Leeds have got to be so careful that they're going into, because I don't think the plan was to go into a relegation battle.
No, I totally agree that the plan wasn't to go into a relegation battle, but they find themselves in one, in my opinion. We'll review the table after we get through the rest of the fixtures. So Southampton 2, Burnley 2. Ryan.
Draw specialist.
It was a game that happened. It's surprisingly entertaining for a Burnley game. 4 goals.
It's a game that happened.
Yeah, it is surprisingly entertaining for a Burnley game. Yes, but Ryan, what I'm trying to get over to you is, mate, that Burnley are in 18th, Southampton are in 16th. Neither of them win games. They're only ever capable of drawing games, and they're both in danger of dragging each other into this relegation. But the relegation battle, the way I see it, there's about 9 teams involved in it.
We've all said everyone's in it so far.
So Southampton and Burnley, it was a 2-2 draw at Southampton, but who's the winner? For me, it's Burnley. They went away and got a point. That's better for Burnley than it is for Southampton.
Yeah, it's better for Burnley than Southampton, but I think come the end of the season, as I said at the start of the season, both these teams are going to be battling relegation. In between that kind of bottom to 13th, I think it'll all be nice and tight, contrary to what I believe Martin said before. So, it's a point. Neither team lost, which I suppose I could see as a positive. Southampton were probably a bit the better team, but it was a game.
Welcome to that world class.
No. He's got a point. He has got a point. We can't. It's not Sky Sports' major fixture of the day, is it? Southampton, Burnley, but it did suit Burnley better to get a point than it did. Southampton needed to get 3 points out of that, and they didn't.
Yeah, but Burnley are the draw specialists.
But this is the thing. This is what sees Burnley stay in the Premier League consistently year after year. Going away to Southampton is a massive point, right?
Can I ask a question?
If you have to.
What about? I know you're going to say about. What about Sean Dyche? Sorry, what about Sean Dyche? Maybe have gone to Everton instead of.
No, absolutely not. Sean Dyche has got pipe and slippers at Burnley, and that's his club for life. Let's get over ourselves. Sean Dyche is at his level. He'll stay there until he dies. Next.
Yeah.
Brighton 1, Manchester City 4. Yeah, we all know about that game. We went to Brighton and took 3 points. Yeah.
I watched that one.
Yeah, I think we all did, didn't we?
Yeah. So that's the last of the Saturday fixtures. What were the takeaways from Manchester City's game at Brighton? Bernardo Silva is the greatest player in world football. Full stop. Full stop. He doesn't score goals like Mo Salah, the Egyptian Jamie Vardy, but he's just an incredible player with unprecedented levels of work rate. Great performance. Second half of the game we played in second gear because it was just a game management. We've got bigger fish to fry after we'd put 3 goals in against them. People were panicking, don't know why, probably because they don't understand football in that second half. They shouldn't have panicked because we won it 4-1. Get over yourselves, 3 points, move along next. We got Spam on Wednesday and then we got Premier League again at the weekend. So move along, nothing to see here. We're just on course to win another Premier League trophy. So let's go into the big Sunday games. Leicester went to Brentford and took 3 points, 2-1. Gentlemen, how are you feeling about Brentford? Is this going to be the start now for Brentford on their downward spiral? In the last 5 games, they've won 2, drawn 1, and they've lost the last 2. So is this the start of the decline for Brentford? Is that Premier League? You know, like when they get that initial inertia when they get into the Premier League and they're like, we're going to get points. Is that sort of wearing off for them now, seeing as they couldn't beat Leicester at home? Not that Leicester are a bad team or anything. It's just win your home game, stay in the Premier League, right?
I don't think they played poorly though, did they?
They didn't.
No,
I'd be worried. I would be worried if I was Brentford. I would be worried because losing back-to-back games, especially when the second of those games is a home game at home, I'd be worried. But go on, tell us about it, Ozzy.
Oh no, I mean, I think they've been I think they've been everyone's second team, haven't they, this season? Brentford, I think they've played really well. They've took away some interesting games, especially the one against Arsenal. And I don't think they played poorly in this game. They had more of the possession, they created more chances, and I just think it was one of those games that just Leicester were just a better team, just to kind of put away their chances on the day. So I wouldn't be panicking as a Brentford fan. I'd be going, well, you're going to lose against the bigger opposition sometimes, like a Leicester.
Yeah, that's fair. Some heads gone in the chat already. Brentford are staying up. Brentford are 12. ... Yes, I'm aware of these things. I can see the Premier League table just as you can. I am asking if it is the start of a decline. I'm not saying it's the start of a decline. Heads gone.
The big shock for me out of that game was Leicester subbed Vardy at half time for Patson Daka. Vardy got hooked at half time, which is a big surprise to me for Daka. And obviously, Daka scored his 4 goals in Europe in midweek. But it was the Vardy coming off part that was like,
it wasn't the Vardy coming off.
That
Ryan, tell us about it. Why did Jamie Vardy having a party come off? Has he got WKDs to drink? Ryan.
Is he awake?
I've fallen asleep.
Do you mean am I awake?
Well, why did Vardy come off at half time today against Brentford?
I don't know, Martin. You'd have to ask the Leicester manager, Brendan Rodgers. He is your best pal, after all. Copied on the phone.
Ryan Corrie watches every game outside of the Premier League.
Right. He sleeps through every City game there is. Right, we'll move on then.
This game I was watching.
Right,
Nice
Ryan, we're moving on. Keep up. Right, this is the Premier League show, Ryan. Right, so West Ham versus Tottenham at the Irons Stadium. West Ham 1, Tottenham 0. Our Tottenham a team in free fall.
Yes.
They've got 15 points. They've got 15 points. They bottled it already. They got that. They won the We Beat City Cup on the opening day of the season, and now they're starting to wobble.
Do you know how scary it is? If they'd have won today, they'd have been in the top 4. Now, if you look at when they've won games, they're winning them by absolute snatching the win, or there's nothing good about it. To say they're in a complete and utter false position right now is unbelievable. The manager's been in there 9 games and they want him out already. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was about the 15th choice to go in there as the manager. It wasn't like the first choice. He wasn't even the second or third or the 4th choice. So it's not exactly probably promising for him. Tottenham will finish mid-table.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Martin, they did. I mean, they were awarded the Premier League trophy after beating us on the opening day of the season. It must have been harsh having to give that trophy back so soon after winning it. West Ham, though, I mean, let's not all focus on Tottenham. West Ham, bit of a team.
Antonio again.
Bit of a team, mate. They're a bit of a team. They've won 3 in the last 5. Bit of a team. 7. Listen, West Ham United, and I love West Ham United. If I didn't support City, I wish I was a West Ham United fan. Honestly, 17 points after 9 games. 5 years ago, West Ham, that's their points tally at Christmas. So fantastic. They're only, let's be honest, they're only 3 points behind us. 5 points behind Chelsea. They're not having a bad go of it, West Ham.
And at the moment, they're coping really well with the added European football on the Thursday night, which for a lot of the teams that kind of push into that bracket, like with Wolves, because obviously Wolves, the year they got into Europe, I think they rotated the least of any squad in the league. And then you saw once they kind of got into Europe, it did affect them a bit in the league, quite a lot, in fact. Whereas so far, West Ham seem to be dealing with it very well.
I mean, for me, David Moyes, he's doing quite a good job, and he's doing what he did similar to his Everton job. But we'll ignore the.
I think at this point, Martin, it's safe to say that this is a step above what he did at Everton. I really do.
You think?
Yeah.
I really do, Martin. I really do. If he was given, if David Moyes was still the manager of Manchester United, they might not be a bit of a shambles. And Everton were consistent under Moyes, but I think there's more potential for some reason than with this West Ham team. I really do.
They seem to be recruiting really well as well.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely a higher ceiling at West Ham than there was at Everton, and I don't want to disrespect Everton by saying that, but I just think that this West Ham team under Moyes, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn up on Wednesday. If they go for that cup on Wednesday, Martin, I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't say that.
No, I'm just saying. Right, so let's get to the most exciting game of the Premier League weekend. Manchester United 0, Bin Dipper Liverpool 5. So, I said this a long time ago. Manchester United have had a pretty crap season so far, and they've not played any big teams. They've just played a big team today and got absolutely pumped. Ozzy, tell us all about it.
Well, I mean, I was thinking before the game started, I was thinking it could be one of those games where United just, grind out a draw. I really did. Because that's what... Yeah. Fucking hell, Martin. Yeah, so that's what I was expecting, because this is what kind of Ollie does when he's back against the wall. He somehow gets these draws or these wins. I didn't think it would be a win for United, but that's what I thought going in. But, the game, when I was watching it, I was just like, wow, this Liverpool team are just pulling United apart. It was United seemed to want to kind of play the game their way, playing at home. They wanted to press forward and try and, get that early goal. And it went to pieces within the first 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it was over, really, as a game for me. I think by that point, it was, is it going to be a cricket score to Liverpool? Because United with the shambles. I mean, yes, I think the scoreline flattered Liverpool, because I don't think they were brilliant. I don't think they're playing at their best like we know they can. But I think just United was so poor. And I know there's the whole, some fans are going Ollie out, but who are you going to replace him with? I mean, seriously.
Well, yeah, well, long may Ole Gunnar Solskjaer reign at Manchester United. We want him to be the Man United manager for the next 10 decades. I'm fine with it. Can I just say, by the way, in the first half, so many people were saying, why is Paul Pogba not playing? He's a world talent. He's a generational talent. He's one of the best midfielders in the world. He came on second half and got sent off because he was that crap. It's just unbelievable. Honestly, Manchester United have spent more than Manchester City and won nothing. And it's not just the fault of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I will tell you, in the first half, and I sent Martin this message, Martin, have you ever coached under 10s? Because I coached under 10s at one point, and we call it bumblebee football.
Yeah,
what bumblebee football means is that they all chase the ball. They don't play shape. They don't play positional. They don't hold the shape or anything like that. They don't play right back, left back, centre half, anything like that. Under 10s football is bumblebee football, because wherever the ball is on the pitch, they all rush to the ball, and there's no shape, no consistency. And it was shocking to see, because if the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got any coaching badges and he let his defence do that today it was just unbelievably funny. Because it was bumblebee football against a world-class team. And Liverpool are a world-class team. They're not the best team in the Prem. They're like the third or fourth best team in the Premier League. They've got a couple of good forward players. The midfield's crap, and the defence is massively overrated. But yeah, that was the difference between a good team and an absolute shambles of a team, Manchester United, because they were awful. They were absolutely awful. And a more clinical team, like a Manchester City, like when we went there in 2011 and beat them 6-1, and they had a player sent off after, 60-odd minutes. A more clinical team would have put them to the sword today. I think Liverpool let the foot off the throttle, and they shouldn't have done. Liverpool should have beat them 10-0 today. They really should. But thankfully, because it was only 5-0, that might save Ole's job. And we'll have to go there in a couple of weeks, because it's only a couple of weeks until we play there, isn't it? We'll have to go there in a couple of weeks and show them how to actually batter United. Because honestly, let's be honest with this. A couple of weeks ago at Anfield, We put Liverpool to the sword. We just didn't score in that first half. We absolutely destroyed Liverpool. And even if there's any Liverpool fan out there, Youssef, even your manager said that we absolutely destroyed you. He was scared. His exact words were, we were scared in that first half and we deserved to be battered. We deserved to be beat. And it's only by the grace of whatever you believe in that you weren't battered in that first half. Okay? So we're a better team than Liverpool. And when we go there, I fully expect us to run rings around them. Because if we don't run rings around them, it's a shambles. Because Manchester United are a team there to get absolutely battered. And yeah, as Abdul has just said, I wouldn't be surprised if United beat us. It always seems to happen, doesn't it? Always seems to happen, doesn't it? Yeah, Youssef, we were playing away from home and we absolutely decimated you, mate. So you can come up with whatever Liverpool waffle you want. The facts remain. Your own manager threw in the towel. Your own manager threw in the towel and acknowledged that we are a far superior team. So chat as much waffle as you want. Ryan, tell us about it. United 0, Liverpool 5.
I think it's the first time in pretty much since Ole took over at the wheel that he's gone to another top side and played, tried to play football without just sitting back and having 10 men behind the ball. And it really showed that they can't do it. It was like they tried to play like us, and they did seem to be putting pressure on the ball and running around a lot, but they can't do it, and their coach is tactically inept and can't coach them to do it, which is why they have had success playing with 10 men behind the ball and doing counter-attacking football, and they just got absolutely torn to shreds today. Finished with 10 men because the heads went. They were lucky to have 9 men on the pitch, given what Ronaldo got away with, but United didn't even really threaten them. I think Bruno had a chance, which he skied. It wasn't a great chance, but it should have been on target. He had the Ronaldo goal that was offside. But that was just, Ronaldo is still a talented finisher and can finish chances like that. But they just got ripped to shreds, and
they did, and it was awful to see. It was awful to see because honestly, that team. If I was Alex Ferguson now, I'd be upset. This is what's happened to my legacy, basically. So, all right,
see him on TV. He was upset.
Yeah,
you can clearly see that he was like distraught.
So, give us your final words. Give us your final words on the United Liverpool game, and then we'll talk about the league table as it stands, gentlemen.
I think this result, I don't think United will play the same way against us. I think they will return to saying with 10 men behind the ball.
Oh yeah, there'll be a part bus. There will be a part bus, yeah, absolutely. But maybe Jack Grealish can actually do what he was brought to the club to do, and run at the defence. Martin, last words on Shambles versus Dippers.
Yeah, I just thought it was the scary. The thing is, United threw in the towel way too early. Liverpool never got out of second or third gear. If Liverpool really wanted to, they could have battered them 8, 9, 10 today. United, I said it a long time ago. Too many egos in that dressing room. Ronaldo was bought because we went after him. No other reason. He's not someone they really wanted. He wasn't. United fans say that he's doing the graveyard shift at the minute because they haven't got anyone to give him the ball up top anyway. I don't know what McKenna, Feeling and Ole are doing, but clearly they're not doing anything on the training ground. It's
really strange because there's nothing that links that. Like Charlie's just made an excellent point. They've got 2 teams on that pitch. They've got a defence and they've got an attack. They don't have anything that links or protects their team. They're just honestly, it's like
Fred McTominay, doesn't it? Keeps playing them both.
But what do you play Van der Beek instead? It's just honestly, Manchester United it's a mess. That the thing is, if you sack Ole, you bring someone else in. All they can do, like, let's for example say that they bring Mourinho back in or something like that. The only thing that Mourinho will be able to do until the end of the season is park the bus. The football won't get suddenly exciting. They'll have to completely park the bus and just ensure top 6, and then they'll have to start again completely with a rebuild in the next summer. And they've already spent $1 billion. So
the thing is, they're on about bringing Conte in, which is the new Mourinho, isn't it? He'll want to play a back 3, and they haven't got that kind of team where they can play a back 3.
Conte's not good. Conte's not.
Yeah.
No.
So
There's
anyway,
not-
anyway,
He's
yeah.
a good
So
manager.
so they've
No,
still got
but-
Ole at the minute. Let's not get into a
Right.
Conte debate because we're not in a Conte debate. It's a Premier League show, right? So the table as it stands, you can all see the table. Chelsea at the top, Norwich at the bottom, and Leicester, Arsenal, Wolves in the middle. 3 contingent. Is there anything there that shocks you? Is there anyone out of position? Is there anyone who doesn't deserve to be in the top? Anyone who doesn't deserve to be in the bottom? Ryan?
I don't necessarily think so. It's still early in the season. I think Brighton are obviously punching above their weight a bit, but they do play nice football. I think by the end of the season, they'll be back down to around mid-table. Other than that, I don't think anyone's necessarily miles out of position, per se. It's just some teams that are having a bit of bad form will pick up and it'll even out over the season.
Martin and Luzzy, and what do you think about that top 3, by the way? Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City. Is that what we're expecting by the end of the season? Do you think any of those positions will change? Will West Ham be in contention for a 4th spot, or will they drop to about 6th?
No.
I think West Ham will probably drop out of that. But
top 3 are the top 3 for me. And if anything, those top 3 will break away even more and we'll create our own fight out for the league between us 3.
Okay. So you don't think that there's going to be any late charge from a United,
No.
a Tottenham, even an Arsenal?
No.
No.
What for? We're talking the league or top
No,
4?
I'm just asking that. Because to me, I've got the same opinion as you that the top 3 now, it's any one of those 3, and there will be like a 10-point gap to 4th by the end of the season. I agree with you on that. I'm just asking, is there any outside chance that anyone's going to try and keep pace?
4th place is up for grabs. Big style. Who that will be, I don't know.
I think United are going to struggle, aren't they, to get into that 4th spot at the moment, the way they currently are. They've seriously got to decide their team. Going back to having Ronaldo, yeah, he's a world-class player, but he just doesn't help that team. You can't play him, Popper, and Fernandes in the same team. It just doesn't seem to work for them. That's why I'd say I'm a little bit surprised where they are at, because United were coming into this season going, we've signed some world-class players, and Sancho was stuck on the bench.
Yeah, well, Ozzy, like I said before, United's the first big 6 that they've played was today, and they lost 5-0. You know what I mean? And they've got us coming up, they've got Chelsea coming. United are going to get pummeled, mate, by a lot of teams, unless they sort themselves out. That 4th spot for me, I would really love it at this point if someone like a West Ham or a Brighton could keep pace and finish in 4th. I think that'd be incredible for the Premier League if one of those actually managed it. Is it likely? Don't know. Chelsea, Liverpool and Manchester City, I think the only false position there is Liverpool. I think they'll finish 3rd, we'll finish 2nd, and Chelsea will be the champions. But it'll all be like, you see, like there's 2 points that separates Chelsea and City, and I think that's how the end of the season's going to look as well. I think Chelsea will probably get about 83, we'll get about 81, and Liverpool will be on like 79, 80. It'll be so close, that top 3, the entire season. Liverpool probably are the ones that they'll drop points by Christmas, and obviously we know that they've got a few key players that are going to AFCON and stuff like that. Chelsea as well, with Mendy going to AFCON. But it's going to be very, very close between those 3 teams.
See, I've got us the other way around. I've got us winning it because of those AFCON players going out. I think it will take them front 3 at Liverpool, and they're going to be a bit screwed. And also, I think you take Mendy out of Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to be a little bit, because they'll have Kepa, Azabala.
Yes, Charlie, Mahrez is going to AFCON, but he's not. I'm sorry to tell you, Charlie, but Mahrez is not.
Mahrez is not key into our squad, Charlie, is what we're saying.
No, we've got other players to replace him, haven't we? That are more than capable. So.
Right, gentlemen, final thoughts before we call it. This has been our first The 20 Premier League show.
Just good start to the season. It's been quite enjoyable. We've had some really entertaining games. The big surprise so far? Everything is actually going to what we all thought it was going to go to. There isn't really anyone stuck out in that league. Obviously, you got your West Ham, but West Ham were up there fighting last season as well, and then they dropped off towards the end. You've got your Leicester. Everyone else tends to be where you want it to be. The biggest surprise is probably Brentford doing so well in 12th.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it'll also be interesting to see with Newcastle when it comes to the January transfer window, what they do in the January transfer window, whether they bring in another manager as well, and who that manager is to see them through to their,
Apparently it's Fonseca.
Yeah, so
Well, that's the rumour that's going around.
That's why they'll go down.
just to let the ladies and gentlemen know, we're going to end the show now, but this is a new show that's going to be every Sunday evening. It's the Premier League, the 20th, the Premier League show. We'll rejig the format a little bit. Perhaps if you join us on Discord, you can ask questions, and we'll submit those. And if you submit questions, and then we'll talk about those questions or things you want to talk about the Premier League. So that's a good reason to be on Discord. I'm going to change the graphics and stuff like that for next week. This was literally an idea that came up an hour and a half ago, so I've just rushed these graphics and put it all together. But yeah, every Sunday night, 9 o'clock, we'll talk about the weekend's Premier League games. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Ryan, Ozzy and Martin, and thank you for everyone in the audience. We love it every single time that we live stream or we make a video. You guys are here representing. Thank you very much. Even people like Youssef, the Wally. Thank you very much.
Have a nice
Thanks,
evening.
guys.
Goodbye, gentlemen. Bye-bye. Bye for now.